The man punishing one of his crew members for taking too much during a robbery is James, also known as Shadow. He is the mastermind behind this crew, and their ability to escape every robbery unharmed is entirely due to his meticulous planning. Before each robbery, James studies the surrounding area, examines the building's blueprints to find the best entry point and escape route, and then creates a flawless diversion. Once everything is ready, he takes up position on the roof of a nearby building and surveys the entire area from above. When the time is right, he detonates explosives planted 2 kilometers away to divert the police. He then listens in on police radio communications to track the officers' movements in real time. After confirming that the police are heading toward the explosion, James immediately orders his crew to begin. The robbers receive the order, grab their weapons, and rush into the bank, with everyone assigned a specific role. One robber controls the people inside while the others enter the surveillance room and remove every hard drive containing security footage before threatening the bank manager into helping them access the vault. Meanwhile, James continues monitoring the police radio and confirms that the authorities still have no idea the bank is being robbed. However, opening one of the secured compartments inside the vault will inevitably trigger an alarm, because forcing open a safe containing important valuables automatically alerts the police. From that moment onward, the robbers will have only 3 minutes to escape. But just as the countdown is about to end, one robber ignores everyone's warnings and keeps stuffing cash into his bag. After all, since they have already come to rob a bank, leaving without taking any cash would seem ridiculous. Because of this man's greed, the entire crew misses its best opportunity to escape. The police therefore arrive before the robbers can get away. Seeing what has happened, James immediately activates his contingency plan and orders Hippo, who is keeping watch nearby, to assist the others. Hippo drives a van alongside the getaway vehicle and blocks the pursuing police cars. When the moment is right, James immediately orders Hippo to cut them off. Thanks to Hippo's perfectly timed assistance, every police vehicle has its path blocked, and Hippo covers his face before quickly fleeing the scene. That evening, James brutally punishes the crew member who caused the delay. He wraps tape around the man's mouth, nose, and limbs as punishment for the 1 minute he cost them. If the man can survive that single minute, James will spare him. James does this to warn the rest of the crew that refusing to follow his plan could cause the mission to fail or even cost someone their life. Just as the man is about to suffocate, James slices through the tape with his pen and lets him live. However, the true leader of the robbery ring is not James, but this seemingly ordinary shoemaker. James is the wolf the shoemaker raised from a pup, and now that the older man has retired from the criminal world, he assigns every job he receives to James. James's abilities greatly please the shoemaker, but he also worries that the wolf he raised himself might eventually bite its master. Meanwhile, the police bring in a secret surveillance team to solve the bank robbery. The members of this specialized unit disguise themselves as ordinary people from all kinds of professions and search the area surrounding a crime scene for suspicious targets before calling in a tactical unit to make the arrest. But in this bank robbery case, they cannot find a single clue pointing to the robbers. Just as the investigation reaches a dead end, team leader Chief Huang, codenamed Falcon, notices something unusual in the surveillance footage. He realizes that the same heavyset man appears in recordings from multiple nearby cameras, and after comparing them, Falcon confirms that the man is one of the robbers who escaped from the scene. Falcon immediately orders another complete review of all available surveillance footage. Through the combined efforts of the entire police force, footage from a supermarket finally gives them a clear image of Hippo's face.
반갑습니다, 이 새끼야.
The whole team then deploys in disguise as ordinary pedestrians and conducts covert searches at locations Hippo has previously visited. The rookie Hyun-ju, codenamed Piglet, possesses a photographic memory and can clearly recall the features of every passerby she encounters. However, her very first operation puts her in an extremely awkward situation.
아, 의자만 편해도 살겠는데.
이거 미친 거 아니야?
아, 껍데지 잘 들리나?
예, 말씀하십시오.
아니 뭐 특별히 뭐 할 얘기는 없다. 마무리 잘 하고 와.
While the team is still searching for Hippo, James is already directing his crew through an entirely new operation. Their target this time is an accounting firm, where they must steal evidence of their clients' crimes before the police can seize it. Compared with robbing a bank, this mission is far easier. The crew quickly completes the client's assignment and leaves the scene without any trouble, but as James packs up his equipment and prepares to leave the rooftop, he unexpectedly notices a man filming him from a building across the street. James refuses to tolerate even the smallest mistake, so he immediately rushes to the opposite building and storms into the man's room. Without hesitation, James kills the man with his pen. James taking a life during this operation is no small matter. He therefore asks his adoptive father for permission to leave the country and lie low. His unconcerned adoptive father tells him to complete one more assignment before leaving, but James has grown powerful and independent, so he completely ignores his adoptive father's demand. Since James insists on leaving, his adoptive father decides to teach him a lesson. As soon as James gets into his car, an assassin sent by his adoptive father suddenly attacks him.
갈 곳도 없고 떠날 수도 없는 놈입니다. 자기가 누군지 기억을 깨워줘야죠. 제가 좀 엄하게 키웠거든요.
Unable to break free from the man's grip, James starts the car and slams the accelerator, driving directly into a wall. He then wraps the seatbelt tightly around the attacker's neck until the man stops breathing. James returns to the shoe repair shop in a rage and stares coldly at his adoptive father. The older man calmly opens the drawer containing the files for their next assignment.
마지막입니다.
It is now clear that James is nothing more than a tool his adoptive father uses to make money. Meanwhile, after more than 10 days of covert surveillance, the police finally locate Hippo. Piglet follows him all the way to an apartment building. While the two wait for the elevator together, Hippo suddenly turns to look at Piglet.
너 뭐야? 커피도 타는 여자.
네?
그치?
커피요?
아니지?
After realizing that Piglet is not the escort he was expecting, Hippo can only swallow hard. Once inside the elevator, Piglet follows Falcon's instructions and presses the button for the top floor, while Hippo selects the 7th floor. As the elevator approaches the 7th floor, Piglet pretends to search through her bag. The moment the doors open, she spills all her coins onto the floor, pretends it was an accident, and crouches down to pick them up. The supposedly clever Hippo suspects nothing, gathers his belongings, and walks straight toward his apartment. Piglet uses the opportunity to identify Hippo's apartment number. After completing her assignment, Piglet heads downstairs and hands the surveillance operation over to Squirrel. Squirrel enters the elevator, obtains Hippo's fingerprints, and installs several hidden cameras on the floor where he lives. The police intend to use Hippo's movements to capture the rest of his crew in one operation. That day, Falcon and Department Head Lee visit the home of the man James killed. The killer's clean and efficient methods have left no evidence behind. After examining the victim's computer, they determine that he was a photographer who secretly took pictures of other people. They conclude that he must have photographed something he was never supposed to see. Drawing on years of investigative experience, Falcon theorizes that the victim saw the killer standing somewhere high above him, while the killer mistakenly believed the man was photographing him and murdered him as a result. This leads the police to conclude that the leader of the robbery crew oversees every operation from a high vantage point. While monitoring Hippo, Piglet discovers that he hires an escort to visit his apartment every day. On this occasion, he asks the escort to take his garbage downstairs. Searching for clues, Piglet quickly reaches the garbage collection area, finds Hippo's trash, and takes it back to headquarters to look for anything useful. After searching through it, Falcon's extraordinary attention to detail allows him to discover a fragment of a small note, and he tells Piglet to keep digging through the garbage. As they recover one torn fragment after another, they finally reconstruct the entire note. After decoding the numbers and ruling out other possibilities, they determine that the note contains the IP address of a stock exchange. The police conclude that the crew's next target must be that exchange. A police officer disguised as a taxi driver takes Hippo to a factory as requested. Before long, Hippo's associates begin arriving at the location. While the police monitor the group, Department Head Lee notices a phone sitting on their table. She asks one of her colleagues to determine whether the phone is currently connected to a call.
통화 좀 맞습니다. 방금 전원이 꺼졌는데 마지막 신호는 2호선 지하 중객입니다.
거래소 근처에 2호선 있지?
네.
그림자 등장. 정신 바짝 차려.
네.
좋아. 송골매 꽃돼지는 그림자를 찾고 놈들은 현장에서 검거한다. 통화 기록 따고. 검거팀 5분 대기. 위치 추적 허가 신청해.
네.
다들 정신 차려!
By then, James has already reached a rooftop and is directing the operation as usual. He studies the surrounding area while attempting to intercept the police radio. James has no idea that the police have already surrounded his entire crew. By the time he successfully taps into their radio communications, it is already too late. James immediately orders the crew to abort the mission.
계획 취소! 계획 취소!
After several minutes of a desperate escape attempt, the carefully deployed police force captures every member of the crew. Meanwhile, James has already blended into the crowd when he suddenly receives a mysterious phone call. Falcon and Piglet quickly scan the crowd for anyone answering a phone. Because neither of them has ever seen James's face, they cannot immediately determine which person holding a phone is their target. James soon realizes that his phone is being tracked, so he removes its battery and moves through the crowd while pretending to continue his call. With the tracking signal gone, the police find it much harder to pursue him. Just then, Falcon spots a familiar figure he remembers seeing once at a crime scene. After identifying their target, Falcon immediately tells Piglet to follow with him, to avoid exposing themselves before backup arrives. The two officers take turns following James from behind, but Falcon stays too close, and the highly alert James soon realizes that he is being followed. Piglet therefore has to continue the pursuit alone. When Piglet follows James to a traffic light, he crosses the street while the light is still red. To avoid exposing herself, Piglet has no choice but to wait for the light to turn green before continuing. Just as James is about to disappear from view, Squirrel arrives disguised as a traffic officer and stops him. Squirrel temporarily delays James by accusing him of a traffic violation. Unfortunately, James quickly sees through Squirrel's disguise. Moments later, Piglet sees Squirrel collapse to the ground while clutching his neck. Piglet rushes forward to check his injuries. Squirrel has been stabbed in an artery and is losing blood rapidly. Desperate to save her teammate, Piglet presses tightly against the wound and can only watch as James disappears from sight. When the shoemaker learns that James has killed a police officer, he decides to eliminate him before James can bring trouble to his door. He also knows that James has grown too independent and no longer obeys him as he once did. When James returns, he finds a group of men waiting for him with knives. After easily defeating every one of them, James confronts his adoptive father and kills him without another word. After watching her colleague die in front of her, Piglet falls into a deep depression. One day, however, a passenger bumps into Piglet while she is riding the subway. Her photographic memory suddenly takes her back to her first day on the job, when someone bumped into her in the exact same way while holding a supermarket flyer. After carefully revisiting the memory, Piglet realizes that the person who bumped into her was James. She immediately goes to the supermarket entrance and begins watching the area. Sure enough, Piglet soon spots James there as he prepares to flee the country. She immediately contacts Falcon and requests backup. Piglet follows James into a restaurant, An employee brings a package from the kitchen and hands it to James, and inside are his passport and a handgun. When James gathers his belongings and prepares to leave, Piglet also begins packing up so she can follow him, but before she can even stand, James turns around and walks back toward her.
우리 본 적 있지요?
사람 잘못 보신 것 같은데요.
정말 본 적 없어요.
처음 뵌 것 같은데.
처음 봤다. 근데 왜 날 따라다니는 거지?
따라다녀요?
At that moment, James sees Falcon entering the restaurant. This makes him even more certain that Piglet and Falcon are following him. James clearly remembers Falcon from the last time he was followed. Seeing the situation, James decides to turn their own plan against them. He first apologizes to Piglet and claims that he mistook her for someone else before standing up and leaving through the restaurant's back door. Falcon tells Piglet to wait for backup while he follows James alone, but just as Piglet prepares to leave the restaurant, she notices something wrong. The table knife is missing because James has taken it with him. Realizing that Falcon is in danger, Piglet hurries after them to provide support. In the underground parking garage, James suddenly steps around a corner and comes face to face with Falcon. To avoid revealing his identity, Falcon forces himself to remain calm and continues walking, but in the very next moment, James attacks him with the knife.
송골매 무슨 일이야?
When James hears Piglet's voice approaching, he leaves without wasting any more time. Fortunately, Falcon is not seriously injured, and he orders Piglet to keep following James so they will not lose him again. After regaining her composure, Piglet immediately runs outside in pursuit. She follows James all the way to a subway platform. Piglet boards a train ahead of him but realizes that James does not appear to have any intention of getting on. Before the doors close, she grabs another passenger's phone and jumps out of the train. By the time Piglet emerges, James has already disappeared. Trusting her instincts, she concludes that James must have escaped into the subway's underground tunnels. As she searches, Piglet reports her location to her colleagues. Once she enters the underground passage, however, she loses the signal completely. While Piglet tries to decide which direction to follow, James quietly approaches from behind. In the next instant, James holds her firmly at gunpoint. James does not kill Piglet because police backup has already reached the area. While being held hostage, Piglet waits for the right moment, pulls out the pen she stole from James, and drives it into his thigh before quickly turning and breaking free. With nowhere left to retreat, James jumps across to the opposite side of the tracks before the train arrives. But as James reaches the tunnel entrance, he suddenly stops. Falcon has already reached the tunnel entrance and is waiting there to block his escape. The superior marksman Falcon ultimately shoots and kills James. After so many days of relentless effort, the team finally completes its difficult mission. Cold Eyes is a remake of the Hong Kong film Eye in the Sky, and Simon Yam's appearance at the end serves as a tribute to the original.